By Ximena Del Cerro, Bloomberg. If you've eaten sushi anywhere in the US, chances are the rice came from California's Sacramento Valley. Fritz Durst, a sixth-generation farmer, has grown the grain and other crops there for more than 4 decades. But this year, amid a historic drought, Durst is planting only half as many acres of rice as usual. Farmers like Durst would be having an even worse year if it weren't for water siphoned from the Sacramento River to irrigate fields. Those diversions, though, have dire consequences for another part of the sushi supply chain, the salmon industry. Low water levels and scorching weather have raised river temperatures so much that almost all the juveniles of an endangered salmon species could be cooked to death this fall, state wildlife officials have said. The drought is so extreme that California regulators earlier this month voted to restrict river diversions for some farmers to protect drinking water supplies. But that's unlikely to end to water rights disputes between farms and fisheries, which have tussled in court for decades. As hotter and drier weather drains reservoirs and withers crops, the fight is growing even more fierce, underscoring how climate change is pitting multi-billion-dollar industries around the world against one another in a battle for increasingly scarce resources. We should be shifting our focus from thinking about drought as an emergency that occurs once in a while, to thinking about it in the context of a long-term shift, said Jeanine Jones, Interstate Resources Manager at the California Department of Water Resources. In California, the agriculture industry's massive water consumption has long been a sticking point for fisheries, environmental groups and other stakeholders. Farms use about 40% of the state's water on average, according to the nonprofit research group Public Policy Institute of California. Water rights in California are governed by a complex system that dates back to the gold rush era. Senior rights holders, companies, farmers and cities with claims that were acquired before 1914, and landowners whose property borders a river, are the last to see their supplies curtailed. They wouldn't be affected by the measures approved earlier this month to restrict flows to some farmers. Competition for water isn't unique to California, however. In Brazil, the Parana River Basin is experiencing its worst water crisis in 91 years, leaving farmers dependent on the river to vie with hydropower plants that provide electricity and water to the country's industrialized south. Rice, typically cultivated in flooded fields, is among the world's most water-intensive crops. Government data reveals the toll drought is having on California's rice growers, which generate more than $5 billion and 25,000 jobs for the state annually, according to the industry-funded California Rice Commission. In a typical year, the state accounts for about 2/3 of U.S.